I'm going to briefly run through major influences on why we're in this epidemic. So the rise of big pharma, Purdue Pharmaceuticals, you might have heard of, in 1996 developed OxyContin. The problem was they marketed it as less addictive, abuse resistant. And in 2007, they had to pay $600 million in a fine, in a lawsuit. A few years later, they came up with their abuse deterrent OxyContin, which is much more difficult to abuse. Now, don't feel sorry for them, because you might think, well, $600 million is a lot of money. Well, in 2015, in 1 year, they had made $3 billion. And Forbes magazine, richest American families, the Sackler family, which owns 100% of Purdue, was number 16 on that list, and $35 billion in revenue since 1995, most of that from OxyContin. That's interesting because his older brother, Arthur Sackler, was also a psychiatrist. The two of them are psychiatrists. And he was the gentleman who introduced the idea of advertising directly to physicians in the early 60s. And he is credited with making diazepam, or Valium, the first $100 million drug in the United States. It was the most prescribed drug between 1969 and 1982. And if you were a physician looking in a JAMA in 1970, this is the ad you would have seen. Her world orbits around doctors. Psychic tension rules her universe. And what they describe is the story of this widow and all these doctors surrounding her, looking at her in consternation, her mother, her older sister, and they draw a circle, this sociological diagram of the father who's deceased. Now, some of you might be thinking this is strange. Others of you might be thinking, well, I see all these ads all the time. It's true. You do see all these ads all the time nowadays. In 1997, the FDA allowed expansion of direct-to-consumer marketing. I remember I was in high school and I started seeing these ads for drugs with all those side effects and consequences, and I was like, this is really strange. Just in 2000, if you look at how much pharmaceutical companies spent on certain aspects of direct-to-consumer marketing, just in samples, $8 billion almost. Direct-to-consumer marketing was $2.5 billion, and physician detailing, $4 billion. You might be asking what that is. That's payment to physicians. That's via lectures, continuing medical education, promotions, food, gifts, etc. Was there a conflict of interest? You make the call. We needed transparency. So with the passing of the Affordable Care Act in 2010, Obama also signed the Physician Payment Sunshine Act. So you can look up any physician. You can look me up right now and see what kind of money has been given. Now, obviously, there are people who get money for lots of reasons, research, etc., putting on lectures, etc. But it's the people who are obviously making hundreds of thousands of dollars, going to Hawaii for weeks, etc., that you want to highlight. So this is now very transparent. The public can look this up.